Hey Quad Bros, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys are joining me for another video. This is going to be the first video in a series that I'm hoping to put out maybe weekly, bi-weekly, something like that, where I'm going to be going over different battle ratings, builds for those battle ratings for each of the factions in Enlisted. So the different squads that you could bring and just going over the kind of quote-unquote meta of what each battle rating might be for each faction in the game. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be starting off with the Soviets and going on through each faction in the game and giving you guys a build for battle rating 2. Now, there's a couple things that I wanted to mention before we get started. Number one, I'm going to be assuming that you guys have everything unlocked and available to you in Tier 2 and below. I know this is obviously not going to be the case for sure, but I'm going to be making that assumption, so feel free to make your best judgment to swap stuff in and out. And if you have premium squads or anything like that, feel free as well, because I'm going to be assuming that you guys have premium accounts, but not necessarily any premium squads or event squads or anything like that. If you don't have premium squads or premium account or anything like that, you can just feel free to swap out anything that you might be missing. Without anything else, guys, let's get started and let's jump into it with the Soviets. The Soviets have an incredibly powerful Tier 2 lineup, at least the one that I've set up here. And a large part of this is in thanks to the Winchester M1895. You should be outfitting as many of your riflemen with this rifle as you can. In my opinion, it's one of the best bolt actions, or I guess lever actions, in the entire game. It has a whopping 24.3 damage and has amazing dispersion. And on top of all of that, it's cool as hell, okay? It is just awesome to use. It's satisfying. It's fun. Definitely recommend you guys bring as many of these as you can. And we're going to be doing that by bringing the 381st Engineer Battalion. Using these engineers, we're going to be able to set up rally points for our team and also act as a kind of mid-range powerhouse of a squad thanks to the Winchester's power. We're going to be able to take on, any of the German squads that are out there. You're even going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Tier 3 squads that are using semi-autos because this gun is just that good. Next up, we've got our 1075th Infantry Regiment. These are our AT gunners utilizing, again, the Winchester as well as the PTRS-41. Now, the reason we're bringing this bomber squad, or this AT squad, sorry, bomber is what it used to be called. The reason we're bringing an AT squad with 3 different AT gunners is because the PTRS is honestly kind of trash. But it's really fun to use. You can just absolutely blast infantry with the PTRS and turn it into a sniper rifle, which is a lot of fun to use. But it's really not that effective against most vehicles in the game, especially once you get up into Tier 3. People are getting down tiered into you. The PTRS is really going to lack. So maybe consider even swapping out some of these large backpacks for large grenade pouches that are going to let you bring more explosion packs. But the PTRS, we still want to have some anti-tank capabilities, and that's exactly what this is doing, as well as filling out some of these other soldiers, bringing some Winchesters and some machine guns. I have the Breda because I can, but you can also bring, Madsen is just fine. And then we get to the workhorses of this faction and of this battle rating, the assaulters or the medics. The PPS-43 is really what this gun is what does all the heavy lifting here. This gun is incredible. Honestly, this gun goes toe-to-toe with the PPS-H. It is crazy, crazy strong. We're going to be bringing 9 of these bad boys across our 2 factions, or our 2 squads here. You can see all PPS-43s. I do have a 42 on this one, but that's because it's red. But I would recommend you guys bring a 43, unless you have a 42 and you also have the red one. But and that's it, guys. That's really that's the squad setup, at least for the infantry. You can see bringing Winchesters, bringing PPS-43s. Those are the really central foundations of this battle rating and of this build. We don't really want to bring any Madsens or anything like that. The gunner or the machine gunners for the Soviets are really not that powerful. So we're going to be focusing on the assault weapons, which is going to be a recurring theme for the Soviets. As for our 2 vehicles, we're going to be bringing a T-50. The T-50 can go toe-to-toe with any Axis armor in the game. The only thing that's going to give you a little bit of trouble is going to be long barrel Panzer IVs, which you're going to only see if you get some down-tiered battle rating 3 players. You can also, if you want, bring a T-28E, which is going to be better against infantry with its bigger HE shell and it's 3 different machine guns, but it's got significantly worse armor and it's significantly slower. So I personally like bringing the T-50. This thing is just so trolly with its armor, and it's going to be able to beat basically any Axis armor that you run into, short of those long-barreled Panzer IVs. And then for our plane, I chose to bring the 215th Assault Aviation Regiment with the IL-2 1941. Obviously, I shouldn't have to explain too much about the IL-2 here. This thing is absolutely cracked. Two 20mm cannons will be able to shred most Axis armor. And then you've also got a two pairs, I should say, of 50 kg bombs, as well as 8 RBS-82 rockets. This thing is a tank. This thing will absolutely obliterate anything in the air. It is a powerhouse of a vehicle. If you're looking to bring a fighter instead, you can bring like the Yak-1 is typically fine, or maybe the MiG-3. Both of those are fine, but in my opinion, the IL-2 will go toe-to-toe with anything in the air. The rear machine gun on it isn't really that powerful, but it'll make enemy fighters at least take a little bit of damage. And really, a lot of players, man, they just cannot deal with this thing. It's so armored that they'll fly right past into the view of you, and you can just blast them with those 20mm cannons. So that's the Soviets. It's a great BR. It's a lot of fun. And let's move on to the Americans. The Americans have a honestly fairly weak tier 2, but they've got some strengths in it that we're going to abuse and turn up to 11. Namely their assault weapons. They really lack the mid-range firepower or any solid bolt actions. They get their good bolt action in tier 3, and we want to stay in tier 2. So really what we're going to be abusing is the M3A1 grease gun, which was recently buffed in the patch for the merge. The grease gun is now incredibly accurate and will do some serious work for you guys, especially when you fully upgraded it to get the damage and rate of fire bonuses. So I highly recommend you guys do that. So we're going to be bringing an assault squad armed with these M3A1 submachine guns, as well as an engineer with a Browning Auto 5 and an M1 carbine to shore up our anti-tank capabilities with the bazooka, as well as, you know, the M1 carbine, semi-automatic, can do some damage. Our medics all armed with M3A1 submachine guns. An engineer squad, and here's where it can get pretty fun. I've given them all Browning Auto 5s. Now, you can do this differently. If you so choose, you could bring... instead of bringing all Browning Auto 5s, you could choose to just give them standard rifles. But I like using these guys as assaulters, giving them bonus vitality because they're engineers. They get bonus vitality very easily, and giving them these Browning Auto 5s. Build a rally point and then rush an objective down with these Auto 5s. You will be able to slap down those bolt action users and do some serious damage. And you've got 6 of them. Semi-automatic Auto 5. Oh man, you can lay some serious firepower down with this. It's a lot of fun to use. I highly recommend this build and setting this up this way. And then we've got our gunner squad here, some British boys armed with the Bren Mark 1. This is going to give you a little bit more of defensive staying power if you are on defense and defending an objective as opposed to attacking. These aren't as good when you're attacking, or when you're defending, excuse me. And this is going to give you some serious firepower in the event that you are defending. Finally, we're also going to be bringing, wait, no, we're not. This is an extra one. Well, you can bring a motorcycle squad also. Motorcycle squad's pretty good to bring. You can throw an engineer on it. If you want to swap one of these out, you can bring the motorcycle squad and have an engineer in it. It lets you get some quick rally points down, so that's nice. But I would recommend these 4. Sorry, I did the math wrong there. And then for our vehicle, it's a no-brainer for our plane, P-38G all the way. This is the only choice, in my opinion. The M8 rockets, the 20mm cannon. This thing will dogfight with the best of them out there. This thing will carry you through tier 5, okay? This thing will take on any Axis plane in the air without dropping anything at all, okay? This is genuinely one of the best planes in the game. It's my favorite plane in all of Enlisted. Absolutely actually, it's my second favorite plane. My favorite plane is the P-38J because it's just a better P-38. Absolutely use this plane, guys. This is like non-negotiable. Incredibly, incredibly good. And for our tank, you have the option between the Mark 1 Grant or the Crusader. This is kind of up to you. The Crusader is going to be much faster. It's got a smaller profile. It's going to be better for taking on and flanking enemy vehicles. It's going to be better against tier 3s and when you get up tiered. While the Mark 1 Grant is much more of a lumbering beast. It's going to be better with that 75mm cannon at just laying down damage and all of its different machine guns. It's going to do a lot more damage, but it is also going to be much harder to use. It's a very awkward to use. You know, you're more susceptible to getting flanked, so keep that in mind as well. Now let's move on to our German lineup. I have 2 assault squads equipped here. One of these should be a medic. Sorry about that, guys. But it's the same idea. You're going to be using FNAB 43s. An alternate to the FNAB 43 is going to be the Beretta M38. The FNAB has a 40-round magazine, which makes it great at taking down lots of enemies in enclosed areas. It's great for clearing buildings and objectives, but it's not too great in terms of its damage per second, since it has just a low rate of fire at 460. The Beretta M38 kind of is a lot better in this regard because it has a rate of fire of almost 700, but it has just a 20-round magazine. So keep that in mind. The Beretta is going to be better for taking on a smaller amount of enemies, while the FNAB is going to be better at taking on a large amount of enemies. Kind of goes up to you on what you guys personally prefer your weapons to do. I've thrown an MG13 as well as, of course, a GRB39 for some anti-tank capabilities and an engineer with the Mannlicher M1895. Speaking of, the Mannlicher M1895 is going to find itself in a squad here in the 11th Pioneer Battalion, outfitting an entire squad with this gun, because this gun is also very, very powerful, okay? It's got great sights. If you give your soldiers increased bolt speed perks, that will make this rifle fire very, very quickly, and it's got a very respectable damage at 22. It's very satisfying to use. It's accurate. It's a great gun. Highly recommend you guys use this. Moving on to our machine gun squad, they're going to be utilizing the MG13. I like to use this more as almost a kind of assault rifle and use this as almost like an assault squad, because this is a fairly fast moving machine gun, at least as machine guns go, and it reloads pretty quickly. It's almost kind of like an FG42 or a BAR or something like that. That's kind of how I tend to use this. Good weapon, good choice to be using for your gunner squad, which is going to give you a little bit extra mid-range firepower as opposed to the close range of the FNAB. Our vehicles are pretty easy choices in my opinion. I like the IAR-81C. This is a very good Romanian plane, 250 kg bomb, a pair of 50 kgs, and 20mm cannons to boot, while being very maneuverable, and all in a fighter package, leaving an attack plane open for your team. Definitely utilize this plane. It is a kind of slept-on plane in my opinion, but if you want to use a Stuka and bring a Ju-87, I can't fault you for that, guys. I really can't. As for our tank, a Puma is an easy choice in my opinion. This is probably one of the best vehicles you can bring. It's fast, it's maneuverable, it's got a great 50mm cannon on it. It can even pin Shermans, and it's easy to get around the sides of just about anything that's going to show its face around in these objectives, and you can easily skirt around this kind of sides and edges of the map, firing HE into objectives, mowing people down, taking out rally points, and being a general kind of wasp, bee, gnat, whatever you want to call it, and thorn in the enemy's side. Now let's move on to our final faction, the Japanese. Last but not least, the Japanese. We're going to be bringing a bomber squad. Again, excuse me, AT squad. Sorry, again, that is what they used to be called, bomber squad, so I always call them bomber squads. AT squads utilizing the Type 5 rocket or the Type 4 rocket. The Type 4 rocket has a sight on it, making it a lot more consistent and easy to use at the cost of less penetration. You can see it has an armor penetration of 80 versus the Type 5 having an armor penetration of 100. So kind of up to you guys on what you want to use there. I personally like the Type 5, but you know, I wouldn't fault you guys for using the Type 4. As for our mainline primary weapon, I use the Type 99 rifle, but you can use any of the standard Japanese rifles. They're all solid. I honestly flip-flop back and forth all the time about which ones I prefer using. Type 99 is great. That's the one that I'm using for this video. We're going to bring a radio operator squad to call in smoke and artillery, bombing runs, and the like. These can be very useful, especially in the Pacific where you see less planes because they have to take off from carriers. So the bombing runs are more likely to land, and on those big open areas, they can do some serious damage. And then we're going to be bringing our assault squads. These are going to be medics and assaulters. I personally like to give them anti-tank impact mines, so you can actually take down any vehicles that you might run across at the cost of your own life. Or maybe not. You're a medic. You might be able to revive yourself. But you can use any of the SMGs that you guys want to. I would recommend the Type 2A SMG, but again, the Japanese have a lot of really powerful submachine guns. The MP28 with its 50-round magazine is beautiful for taking down tons of enemies. The Type 2A has a great rate of fire and good damage, as well as strong recoil and accuracy. So all of the SMGs are good to use. It kind of comes down to your personal choice. And you can see I have kind of a hodgepodge of different ones here. And then my assault squad, I'm bringing all type 2 SMGs, fires faster, kind of just what I was thinking would be the best, as well as, of course, our AT squads, snipers, and an engineer for building up those nice rally points. Our vehicles, we're going to be bringing the Ho-Ni 1. I think it's supposed to be the Ho-Ni 1. This is a tank destroyer. It's got a 75mm cannon on it, which can do some serious damage. I think it can even pin Shermans. I'm not 100% on that, but at the least, it's going to be able to do some work against enemy vehicles. Be careful, though. You definitely want to stay behind your friendly infantry with this thing. You never want to be aggressive with it because you're just going to get shot in the back of the head. It has no... It's not boxed in. You're not enclosed in any way. This is technically an open top vehicle, and kind of expect to get strafed or blown up pretty easily in that thing. And then finally we have the Zero, the A6M2 Ryzen. This thing is amazing. This is the Gold Order variant, but you guys should be able to use the standard variant itself. This thing is going to be able to take on any plane in the air, and it's also got a pair of 60 kg bombs and 20mm cannons to take down any light vehicles you guys might run across on the ground. So you'll be the king of the air, flying around in basically a spaceship. It'll be lots of fun, and you should be able to take on basically any plane you guys run into. And that's it, guys. Those are all of our different battle ratings. I hope this gives you guys a general idea of what you can do, or gives you guys some jumping off points for setting up your own squads. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about what you guys liked about this video, you know, the different loadouts that you guys might be changing. Definitely leave those in the comments below, as well as let me know what battle ratings you guys are struggling at and what you guys might want me to make a build for. Which faction, which battle rating, leave those down in the comments as well. And while you're there, leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out, and you guys are going to be the first to know whenever I put out a new Enlisted video. But without anything else, thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.